June 26, 2024. It's now 2 o'clock. We're at the Avalon Library, and my topic is going to be, who were they? So believe it or not, okay, turn it off. Oh yeah, good, spam.
Who cares?
Boy, if it wasn't for spam, I probably wouldn't get any calls. Boy, I'm so glad that somebody in India is worrying about my car insurance, which I don't even own a car, but okay. So anyway, getting back. So I thought it would be interesting to just go around town, jot down, because I knew a lot of these people. I thought I was only going to find 10. I have 30 here. So I'm going to go through them pretty quick. If I know some stories that I'll tell about them, but again, I'm doing this because as far as I know, no one has this list. It will never be done. By the time they do it, these businesses won't even be here anymore, or whatever. So now just as a precursor, I guess you would say to this, only one person refused to give me any help. I will not tell you this person's name. But I did a little bit of research because this person said that this particular business was named after his mother. And I nicely asked, can you tell me your mother's name? No, I'm not going to give you that information. Well, I went to City Hall. I found out who the man's name was. I stuck his name on the name of the store. So if I'm wrong, good for him. But anyway, so here I'm going to start off. Okay, Abe's Liquor Store was Abe Perlis. He's right next to the Perlis building. Brown's Bikes is Gary Brown over on Pebbley Beach Road. He was a teacher here.
Say that again, the bikes, you're
Come
going
on,
fast.
I don't have time.
Yeah, but you're going too fast.
I know, I'll give you my list. Yeah, I have 30 names here, but
Okay.
I'm trying to...
Okay, go ahead.
Remember, you're not even here, I'm being recorded. Okay, so Brown's Bike is on Pebbley Beach Boulevard. His name was Gary Brown, and he was a teacher here. The new restaurant, it used to be Catalina Cantina, it's now called Catalina Charlie's. His name is Charlie Wright. Coyote Joe, his name is Joe Saldana. Lolo Saldana's brother. Chet Smith. He died they used to have Chet's was in the Atwater Arcade where the gym is now. That is the original Chet's. His name was Chet Smith. I was on the seaplane when he made his last flight to the mainland. He died of cancer back in the 50s or 60s. Eric's on the pair was Eric Wilcox. Okay, Ellie's Island Deli is Ellie Casillas. She is the youngest child of the Casillas family. Not only do they own Ellie's at the mall, but they now own the original Jack's. Okay, Clarissa Street was named for the wife of George Chateau. Her name was Clara Chateau. Her nickname was Clarissa. That's how Clarissa got its name. The Grisham Apartments, which are right next to Brown's Bikes, his name is Hadley Grisham. The Atwater Hotel, a lot of people think the Atwater Hotel is called Atwater is because it's no location to the ocean. It's not. Her maiden name was Atwater. Her name was Helen Atwater, and she married Philip Knight Wrigley in 1920. So she became the daughter-in-law of William Wrigley Jr. and Ada Foot Wrigley. Joe's Run-A-Boat was Joe Guyan. His son Jay Guyan is now running it, and who normally runs it with Joe Guyan is JJ. So he got his name from the two Joes, or the two J's. Joe Guyan and Jay Guyan, grandfather, father, so his name is JJ. Leo's Drugstore was Leo Zager. Lloyd's ice cream parlor was Lloyd Butts. Now, the Butts family had ice cream over here since the 1920s. It was called Grandma Butts at one time, but when Lloyd Butts went into the military, he was in the Navy. He was stationed in the South Pacific during World War II. They gave the name to it in dedication to their son who went off to war. He made it through the war and he lived here for a number of years later.
Whereabouts in the South Pacific?
What?
Do you know whereabouts in the South Pacific?
No, not Samoa, not Tonga, I don't know. Katie's Kitchen was Katie Lemieux, Lemieux. Lolo's Barber Shop, of course, I think everybody knows who that is. Lolo Saldana, the brother of Joe Saldana. Luau Larry's was Larry Buster. Maggie's Blue Rose is Maggie Bray. Her husband upstairs is called Steve Steakhouse. That's her husband, Steve Bray. So it's Margaret Bray, Maggie Bray, and okay. Mount Ada. Mount Ada was named after the wife of William Wrigley Jr. Her original name was Ada Foote, Foote. So it was Ada Foote Wrigley. That's where you get the name Mount Ada. Mrs. T's, where they have the Chinese and they also have the baguettes and all that. That is Nora Tusi. Now her husband right next door had the original Jack's restaurant. And so he died about 6 months ago. His name was Jack Tusi. Pete's, the one across the way, was a teacher by the name of Peter Neeson. Now he had another Pete's cafe, or whatever you want to call it, outdoor on Crescent long before that. But the one we have there now is Pete or Peter Neeson. Peggy's gift shop, her name was Peggy Karasik. The McRae Hotel, it's the McRae building, was a family that went back to the early teens. But when they built the hotel, they dedicated it to a young little girl about 6 years old. Her name was Peggy. And so she is attributed to be the one who started the McRae Hotel, because her family did, but it was Peggy. Okay, Sumner Street was named after Charles Sumner. Charles Sumner was a real estate agent for the Chateaus, for the Bannings, and also for the Wrigleys. Now, he was not a very good guy, and I'll tell you why. How are we doing time-wise?
You actually have about 15 minutes.
We have 15?
Yeah, I have more time on the phone than I used to. You have a little more time.
Okay, well, now.
You've got plenty of time.
Okay. So, Charles Sumner has a very interesting story. George Chateau, when he built the island, the way the island was set up, there was that you notice how wide Crescent Avenue is, and there were no buildings on the ocean side, because he was very paranoid that alcohol was going to be introduced into Avalon, and he was a prohibitionist. So by having no buildings on that side, it would be very difficult for boats to come in and try to move their booze across Crescent Avenue, because it was so wide and there was no place for them to store it. So he figured the gendarmes would be able to notice whether or not they were bringing booze in. Well, Charles Sumner, who was his real estate agent, took over a room in the original Metropole Hotel that was built in 1887. And guess what he sold in that room?
Boozy booze. Drinky booze.
Any guesses? Alcohol. Yes, he sold booze right under George Chateau's nose at the Metropole Hotel. So when George Chateau basically lost the island company to the Bannings, he then took over being the Bannings real estate agent. Well, he started selling off the property before Mr. Wrigley purchased it in 1919. He figured he had a lot of more land than he thought he did when he purchased it. When he finally he took over the island, that's when he realized that he had been selling off all of this land. The Bannings knew it, but nobody was telling Mr. Wrigley. So when the Bannings left, he somehow had a lot of money. I can see why, with the booze and selling off the property. So he had a lot of money. So he along with Hancock, William Banning, and Mr. Wrigley, they all three put in approximately $350,000 to purchase the island company for $1 million from the Bannings. And Mr. Wrigley loved the island so much he decided to buy them out. So that's how he. So when you say that Mr. Wrigley bought Catalina Island, he really bought the controlling stock of the Santa Catalina Island Company. So when we talk about the Rusacks controlling the island, they own the controlling stock of the Santa Catalina Island Company. So technically that's the way you're supposed to say it. Okay. I'm going to leave the one to last, which I think is kind of funny. Okay, Yoshi's. Yoshi Morris. Virgie Felix. Wheezy. That was her nickname. Her name was Louise Petrick. And the one that I completely forgot about until just yesterday, and I had to look up in the internet. Vaughn's grocery store. It really was a Vaughn's. His name was Charles Vanderach. Vanderach. I guess he was Dutch. Charles Vanderach.
Vander.
Vaughn's grocery store. VON. Vanderach.
Spell out again, please.
VON space DER space AHE. Vanderach. So that's how Vaughn's got his name. He started the first one in the Midwest in 1906, and so now the thing was interesting. I met. I hate to say it, I forgot his name. Okay, I know. Well, anyway, I won't tell you his name because we talked about other things. But he is on the board of directors of the museum. And I told him, I said, can you guess what the name of, because he said, what's your lecture about today? So I thought I was going to stump him, and we were over at Vaughn's. His golf cart got a flat, so he was sitting there waiting for a ride from whatever that
Circuit?
means. Huh?
Circuit? From Circuit?
Yeah, Circuit, but they have another name for it. Circuit is the overall name for all of them, and then they have one for Catalina Choice, or there's another, Coast. Coast. Anyway, so they're waiting for the Coast ride. So I thought I was going to trick them. I said, well, we're at Vaughn's. Do you know who started Vaughn's? He came up with this name. I said, I am impressed. He said, well, when we had that celebration of life for Roy Rose, the grandson was there.
Huh. That's very interesting.
So I thought that was pretty interesting to know that Vaughn's grandson probably is, I would guess probably more like his great-grandson, depending on how old he is, was here for the celebration of life for Roy Rose was Mr. Vaughn. So I thought I really came up with something that nobody would ever know, and here you said I know who the.
That's good.
So I'm gonna just. Okay, do we have time?
We have another 10 minutes.
I'm gonna tell you a story that I told to him. He was telling me that Gregory Harrison, I'm sure you may know the actor Gregory Harrison. He was born in 1950. He's only 74 now.
Just finished his big years-long role on General Hospital about a month ago, I believe.
It wasn't, General Hospital. Before that, he did Trapper John M.D. He played Trapper John when that TV series came.
And
He's been on a number of them.
Logan's Run, the TV series. He was in Logan's Run, the TV series.
Logan's Run was his very first program, very first movie he was ever in.
1971. 1971. That movie came out.
Yeah, the movie did, but the TV series was slightly thereafter.
He was here in Catalina in 1979 when I did the 50th anniversary celebration for the Wrigleys. So he and Doodles Weaver were the only two celebrities. Doodles Weaver was with the old Spike Jones band. So if you want to look that up, it was really a weird band. But anyway, Doodles Weaver was the singer on that one. Okay, anyway. So he told me that Gregory Harrison was there for Roy Rose's tribute. He used to work for him when he was in high school. And he ran the car, Roy Rose's car, into the side of the bank and knocked out the wall. And Roy did not get upset. He just very calmly went to Gregory Harrison. His father, Gregory Harrison's father, was Captain Eddie Harrison of the old Phoenix boat, class bottom boat, other boats too. Anyway, he very calmly went up to him and said, "I'm not going to press charges, but you have to fix my car and you have to replace the wall." Just very matter of fact. And he did. And Gregory said that Roy Rose respected him so much that whenever he would go to the mainland, he had boys and girls at the time, that he would take Gregory on shopping trips with him to the mainland, even to Las Vegas, to help him to find out what kind of clothes would young men like to wear, young boys like to wear. So he said he really gave me the confidence to get into acting, because he said my self-esteem was really low because my parents, Captain Eddie and Donna, who was his mother, when they got divorced when he was about 8, he said that really hurt his confidence. Well, now he had his confidence up because Roy Rose trusted him enough to have him go shopping for him. Well, anyway, I told my story, which I'm going to add now, and then that'll be the end of it. Gregory, when he was in high school, used to perform at the Chi-Chi Club. Now, they allowed him to perform there because they did have food. And I guess in those days, maybe even now, that as long as there's food served in there, you're allowed to go in there underage as long as you don't order anything alcoholic. So he was doing the program, The Fantastics. I don't know if you're familiar with it. Anyway, it's a great musical. So he was doing The Fantastics. So Joseph Robards Jr., he was married to Lauren Bacall.
Jason Robards, I believe. Jason Robards Jr.
Okay, I was right at that. Jason Robards Jr. was there for, at the Chi-Chi Club and saw Gregory's performance because he was performing. And he went up to him and he said, "Have you ever thought of becoming an actor?" And Gregory said, "No, I haven't. I just like to entertain." He said, I would give it a lot of consideration." Well, he was good friends with Tony Dow, who was my best friend, who played Wally on Leave to Beaver.
Hey, stop that, guys.
By this time, he'd already been on Leave to Beaver and had already directed other TV shows like Coach and whatever else. So he went to Tony and he said, "Tony, should I go into acting?" And the advice that both Tony and he told me that they gave him, I got it from both of them independently, was if you can think of anything else to do, anything, do it. But if you can't imagine anything else, then go into acting. So I guess Gregory couldn't think of anything else, so he went into acting. Now, years later, I think it was the SAG Awards or whatever, they were doing a tribute to Jason Robards Jr. And they asked Gregory if he would give him the award for the, which Gregory, of course, was really honored to think he's giving it to the man who got him started in acting. So when the program was over, he said he was backstage with him, and he said to Robards Jr., I'm really honored to give you this award. He said, "Well, thank you. Why?" He said, "Because you started my career." He said, "I did?" He said, "Don't you remember in Catalina at the Chi-Chi Club when I was doing the Fantastics and you told me I should get into acting?" And Jason Robards looked at him and said, "Was I drunk?" And he said, "I don't know." And he said, "I must have been drunk because I don't remember any of that conversation." Now, I think that is really horrible. I mean, he could have kept his mouth shut.
Hey, stop that, guys.
He could have said thank you, or, I'm glad that I helped. He could have done anything, but Gregory said that really hurt him to think that Jason Robards Jr. had to be drunk in order to recommend him getting into acting. So anyway, that's a story that I'm the only, well, of course, Gregory knows the story, but Tony's dead now, but anyway, I wanted to share that. So
Well done.
that's the end of my recording.